Metro TV will get started in 30 seconds. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Committee. Today is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. It's 1:03 p.m. I am chair of the committee, Andrew Owen. I'm joined by my vice chair, Scott Reed, joined in chambers by Councilman Batshon, Councilman Hudson, Councilwoman Rui, and joined online by Councilwoman Raymond, and we're also joined by Councilwoman Dr. Paula McCraney, who has an item on the agenda. This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. The first item on the agenda is item O-015-26, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 4700 Westport Road and 913 Fountain Avenue, containing approximately 0.9 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25 zone 0087. Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. How do we want to address these? Julia, do you want to tee it up for us?
Sure. I think we would just treat this like any normal case that you would get. So
Okay,
I'll go through
perfect.
my presentation.
We're doing this kind of for the first time, so yes,
Sure.
I think that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Julia Williams, Office of Planning. This is 25 zone 0087. This is located at 4700 Westport Road and 913 Fountain Avenue. It's located in Council District 7. The existing use is residential with the proposed use of commercial. The existing zoning is OR and R5 in the Neighborhood Forum District with the proposed zoning of commercial neighborhood CN, also in the Neighborhood Forum District. The request is a change in zoning from OR and R5 to CN. There were variances, a waiver, and a detailed district development plan with binding elements for the site. The site's approximately 0.9 acres. It was associated with a previous zoning change from R5 to OR back in 2021. The proposals for a chartered financial institution with retail in the existing home. This is the applicant's development plan. Track 2 holds the existing home, and then the financial institution on Tract 1. These were elevations for the proposal. This is the subject property, currently vacant at the corner of Westport and Fountain, and then the existing home at 913 Fountain. And then this is across Fountain Avenue and across Westport Road. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on June 11, 2025. The Land Development and Transportation Committee held their meeting on December 11, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R5 to OR and OR to CN, passing by a vote of 9-0. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Julia. So what I was referring to a minute ago when I said we're kind of doing this for the first time is since we passed the ordinance last year that made projects in front of the Planning Commission that were unanimously approved kind of bypass council. This is, I think, the first one that we've had that was brought over for council review, even though it had a unanimous vote. As you can tell from this property has kind of a long history, like Julia just went through 2021, I think on through, it's kind of had a couple of different iterations. Councilwoman McCraney, this is in her district, and she is the person that requested that this come in front of council. And so I'd like to turn it over to Councilwoman McCraney so she can speak to this issue. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot I could say about this project, and I will spare you all of the gory details, but it has seen a lot of iterations. It has had developers who wanted to put major retail in the spot. It has been a proposal for things like storage units. It's been proposed as features that would drive a lot of traffic. And if you are familiar with Westport Road, you realize that we can't withstand much more traffic. And in the pictures that you saw, it was from Westport Road, there were like 3 cars on the street. That is unimaginable. You can never go on Westport Road and see only 3 cars. You're going to see about 300 cars. So imagine the community fighting against any development that goes in that little bitty corner there. So through the years, I've always educated the community to let them know something is going to go there. So we need to be realistic with our wishes and our pushback. And so this proposal came to us. It is an absolute beauty. I believe that if it is a financial institution, that the community will be blessed by it. It won't add to the traffic so much because you can't imagine someone coming to a credit union in droves. But it is nice. The development is nice. The proposal is nice. The spot is very small. Westport Road is very busy. So what I am asking you to consider is the binding element that says if the use should change, if it is not going to be a financial institution, then we would like for it to come before the council because we've gone through so much on that little corner of what could be there that we are really pleased with what is being proposed today. And I think everybody is aware that Westport Road can't withstand just anything. So we need to see it as a community to make sure that things are what they say they are. So this is my gift to the community. A binding element in the front end instead of us having to be concerned on the back end. So I'm asking you to approve this binding element that says if it should change from being what they're proposing, then we need to see it and consider it again at that time.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCraney. Just for the record, there are discussions happening between the county attorney's office and Co-Chair Reed and me and some others on the committee about how we can potentially add the standard binding element that Councilwoman McCraney is proposing adding to this project, how we can do that prior to it going to the Planning Commission, so we don't have to do this again. Not that, I think it's okay, it's fine that Councilwoman McCraney is asking us to do this, but this kind of, it makes what we did last year in trying to expedite the process and reduce the workload on the staff. It kind of undoes that progress, and so we're trying to figure out how to accomplish adding the standard binding element in a different way, and hopefully we'll have something to present here shortly. I don't have anybody else in the queue. Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Oh, and by the way, we have been joined virtually by Councilwoman Parrish Wright. Anybody have any other questions or concerns about this? Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Travis Feaster, Assistant County Attorney. 2 things. One, I will note that there is an amendment on the system that does add that council review language that you all used to seeing. It also adds one whereas clause, just to sort of detail the history that on Thursday the 29th, you all passed a resolution that initiated this review. After the fact, we had some internal conversations and thought that'd probably be a good thing to record so we can trace more easily which one of these are brought forward and how. So those are the 2 changes. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward language you all are used to seeing. And of course, it will need a motion in a second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. and we have an amended ordinance in front of us. Have nobody else in the queue? Anybody else have anything to say before we open up the roll call vote? Justin, can you open up the roll call, please?
Committee Member Parrish Wright.
Yes.
Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Councilmember McCraney.
Yes.
Chair, you have 8 yes votes.
With 8 yes votes, this is an amended ordinance, so it will go to old business on the next Metro Council agenda. Item number 2, O-026-26 is an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 330 and 326 East Oak Street and 333 Stein Court, containing approximately .46 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number 25, Zone 0030. Can I get a motion? Property moved and seconded. We also have been enjoined recently by Councilman Linenger, and he can vote on this zoning change because it is in Council District 6, his district. Julia.
Yes, this is 25 Zone 0030. This is located at 326 and 330 East Oak Street, as well as 333 Stein Court in Council District 6. The existing use is office. The proposed use is commercial. The existing zoning is office residential 2 in the traditional neighborhood form district, with the proposed zoning of C2 in the traditional neighborhood form district. There was a change in zoning requested from OR2 to C2 commercial with a detailed district development plan with binding elements. The property is about .46 acres. The existing building is about 5,600 square feet. The existing parking is to remain. There's no new construction on the exterior, and the curb cut along East Oak is proposed to be removed. This is the applicant's development plan showing the existing building and parking. This is the subject property showing the existing building. This is along Stein Court with the alley access. The existing parking. Adjacent properties at the intersection of South Preston and East Oak. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on March 11, 2025. The Land Development and Transportation Committee held the meeting on October 23, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from OR2 to C2, passing by a vote of 8-0. And this one, we had an aggrieved party.
Okay, so a couple of things before I turn it over to Councilman Linenger to add his thoughts on this. A couple of things I wanted to just highlight here. So one of the things that we were just discussing earlier is we don't have information when somebody identifies, when somebody reaches out and says they're an aggrieved party and wants us to bring it in front of council, do we get information as to what their concern is or why they are aggrieved?
No, generally we don't. And if somebody in their email to us saying they're an aggrieved party, sometimes they'll make a statement, but that statement is not part of the public record because the record closes after Planning Commission starts its deliberation. In this particular case, we couldn't look towards the Planning Commission meeting itself because there was nobody that spoke in opposition at the meeting.
And that was going to be the next thing I said, and maybe Councilman Linenger can add more to this, but I think I want to reiterate that if people have concerns about a development, showing up to the Planning Commission meeting and having time in front of the Planning Commission to speak to them and tell them what your issues are, that's the time to do it. And when that meeting was held for this piece of legislation, for this ordinance, no one spoke in opposition. and then it was approved 8-0. So I think if you have things that you don't like about an ordinance, about a project, I think the best time to show up and express that concern is at that planning commission meeting. And it does concern me that no one attended that meeting to speak in opposition. With that said, Councilman Leninger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so I did have constituents reach out to me and let me know that they were planning to, put forward a motion as an aggrieved party. They're not trying to stop anything. They understand that, that's not in the record and that's not what their intent is. It's along the lines of what we've been discussing, that we've kind of created this, hole in how we can address things like a council binding element. Because there's not a lot of detail in the zoning application, they just want, the kind of guardrails that we've been putting in as a Metro Council.
Great. I'm actually very happy to hear that. And again, I hope that very shortly here we'll be able to address that hole that you're talking about. We'll be able to do that prior to the Planning Commission. So, good. I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. We have. Laura.
I just wanted to chime in on 2 points. First of all, when we have the aggrieved party, when we draft the ordinance, we check to see if the person spoke in opposition. So we've made a distinction in the ordinance we send to you. We either say the person filed as an aggrieved party or the person who spoke in opposition filed as an aggrieved party. So that way you can go into the minutes of the case and see what their specific issue was on the record. Okay. So we've tried to clarify it on that end. And then I just wanted to make a minor correction to the presentation here. At the original Planning Commission meeting, there was a meeting prior to, or there was, I think it was maybe at LD&T. They had a meeting where they were going to cut out the curb cut entirely, and the applicant had a concern about that. So the plan that actually went before Planning Commission on the 15th still has the oak curb cut, but it's a right in, right out, and it's narrower. So that was the one change. So it's not eliminated completely. It is still there, but it's limited to a right in, right out.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because when that was presented that way, I was surprised that was being eliminated completely, and it was a question I was going to ask and then forgot to ask. So I'm glad you addressed that. I've got Councilman Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if I'm understanding this correctly, an aggrieved party has to base their, complaint or request for us to take a look at it on something that is on the public record as testified. Is that correct?
So it's less that they have to base it on something. Right now, we don't necessarily have a standard for that. The statute doesn't include a clarifying standard for what constitutes an aggrieved party. What we are saying is that if they don't send in an email, don't write a letter, don't make a phone call to staff, don't attend the public hearing, and then they file as an aggrieved party, we have no evidence to base any real decisions on from that result, right? So the case is in front of you all right now. There's not a single negative comment in the case. Mm-hmm. There's no comment that says, I want a fence, or I want plantings, or I'm concerned about traffic. There's nothing. And so it's here, and you all have the ability to review it, and like you would any other case, but there's really no evidence for you all to make any decision on that would be anything other than supportive, because, again, this individual didn't participate in the process. So it's really important to get that information in some fashion on the front end. Whether that means attending the public hearing, which is sort of the gold standard, or a phone call and email, that all works too. The Planning Commission would still get it. You all would still have it in your hands. But in this case, and in some of the others today, no one showed up to speak a word of opposition or even ask any questions. And so all we're left with is positive information.
So is that codified in the ordinance, or do we need to tighten the ordinance up some?
Not necessarily. I mean, currently the ordinance and the LDC change just follows what the statute provides, more or less. There may be, if this becomes a sort of thing that is frustrating to council, we can talk about whether there is any avenue to sort of narrow that. Conceivably, you could create some class of people, anyone who interacted, anyone who got notice, anyone who might sort of touch the case in some capacity automatically could maybe is the narrowest we would feel comfortable potentially limiting it to, but even that would be cutting it shy of what the current statute allows. So we need to have some conversations about that before doing any sort of narrowing, but there is, that's a discussion we could have.
Well, what we don't want is we don't want a situation where nobody goes, or somebody does not go to the public hearing and they're just filing an aggrieved motion just because they feel like it,
Right.
Because that kind of undoes what we're trying to accomplish.
We don't want anyone cut out of the process. At the same time, we don't want one person to appeal every single
I
case
understand,
to
yes.
council all at once. And right now, someone potentially could, so.
Okay, all right.
It's something to look at, I think.
Thank you.
All right, we don't have anybody else in the queue. Anybody else have any questions or concerns before we open up the roll call vote? Oh. Councilman Benson came in so quietly, I didn't know he was here. I don't know, how long have you been here, Councilman Benson? Not very long. Okay. Oh, no, it's okay. I just didn't hear you come in, and so I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilman Benson. Okay, without any further questions, Justin, if you'll open up the roll call.
Committee Member Paris Wright.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Councilman Leninger was requesting that we add the standard binding element. We didn't add that on the system, right? So we need to have an amendment. I'm sorry about that. I was moving too quickly. So we need to make a motion that we add the standard binding element. The motion is made by Councilman Hudson. Can I get a second? Seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? The ayes have it. We have an amended ordinance in front of us.
Just for the record, that would be become binding element number 6.
Binding element number 6. Okay. Okay. Now, having done our crossed our T's and dotted our I's, we need to open up the roll call vote.
Committee Member Paris Wright.
Yes.
Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mine's, for some reason, here we go.
Chair, you have 9 yes votes.
Okay, with 9 yes votes, this is an amended ordinance that will go to old business on the next council agenda. Next item is item number 3, O-030-26, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 6205 Mason Boulevard containing approximately 2.4 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25, zone 0129. Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. Julia.
Thank you. This is case number 25, zone 0129. It's located at 6205 Mason Boulevard in Council District 16. The existing use is residential with a proposed use of residential. The existing zoning is R4 in the Village Outliers Form District and a proposed zoning of R6 in the Village Outlier. The request was for a change in zoning from R4 single family to R6 multifamily and a detailed district development plan with binding elements. The property is 2.4 acres, 24 multifamily units were proposed. It's adjacent to Phase 1, which was rezoned back in 2021 for 44 units in R6. This is the applicant's development plan. The subject property from Mason Boulevard. Adjacent properties along the southwest portion of Mason Boulevard. The property south along Mason Boulevard. And then property south along Mayfair Avenue. And properties east along River Road. And property north along River Road. There we go. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on September 30, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 to R6, passing by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Julia. I'm sorry, this is a phase 2 of a project.
Yes.
Were you able to can you show us where the phase 1 of that project, maybe you did and I missed it, but can you show us where phase 1 of this project is?
So Phase 1 is located at Mayfair and River Road.
That's what I
This
thought. I
R6 here.
just wanted to make sure that that was clear for me. Okay, so again, this is in Councilman Reed's district, and I'm going to turn it over to him in just a second, but I did want to just say, this was a little different than the last one we dealt with, because there were, people that spoke up in opposition at the Planning Commission meeting. It was approved, the detailed development plan was approved 8-0, and an aggrieved person requested that the council consider this matter, which is why it's come over to us. Okay, so with that said, Councilman Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I wanted to, first of all, say that I'm in support of this. The residents that were speaking out in opposition were doing so because it was originally planned by another developer who was planning on high-end condos. And he sold the development to another developer, and this is a very reputable developer who's been very cooperative. But he's going to be building townhomes as opposed to condos. So that was the basis of their angst, I suppose. But it is what it is, and I don't have a problem with it at all. I did have a question for Julia, though. It said, I'm reading this, in concerns to the property being constructed in a wetland, it was determined to be non-jurisdictional in our land development code. What does that mean?
So there's jurisdictional wetlands and non-jurisdictional wetlands. It needed to be identified as a jurisdictional wetland for the Army Corps of Engineers. And I believe it has to be a certain, it might have to be a certain acreage, I don't recall. But when it's non-jurisdictional, it means it's not a water of the Commonwealth. So that the Corps of Engineers doesn't necessarily have anything to say about it. It would just be MSD working with the applicant.
Okay, so the Corps of Engineers does have jurisdiction in this case?
It's non-jurisdictional, so they do not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong, got it backward, okay. Well, again, I'm in support. I would like to ask for the standard binding element, since it's fashionable for today. Hopefully it's the last time we do this.
So,
Much like the last case, that would also be number 6.
that's a motion by Councilman Reed. Can I get a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We've got an amended ordinance in front of us. Councilwoman Rui, you're in the queue.
Microphone. First of all, Councilman Reed, you're making a distinction. Somebody tell me, what's the distinction between a condominium and a townhome? What's the difference between a condo and a townhome?
That's a good question. I think from a classification standpoint, maybe Julia could answer that.
They're the same.
Okay.
It's a building that has either ownership or rental.
Yeah, I think,
so it's-
okay, I think
it's
the
the same.
argument from the residents would be they feel as though a condo being owned by somebody would be properly cared for, and maybe they didn't have a good opinion of the developer. So, as far as the design, I understand that, and I'm not in opposition to this, but that was their concern.
I will
People don't like bait and switches, and they perceive this to be a bait and switch, but the reality is that a different developer came in and bought it. So,
Okay.
Is this is this ownership and not rental? Do we know?
this is rental.
It could be either. Yeah, just, like a single-family home, you could rent it or buy it.
That's going to be rental.
So there's no difference, you said, between a townhome and a condo as identified in our land development code?
I think Brian wants to add something to that.
And just before Brian does, not to cut you off, you're welcome to follow through. So condos, there's a statute on condos. Condos is really more of the sort of legal regime by which a building or a complex is created and taken care of, the sort of shared walls and all those sorts of things. So there's a formal statutory authority in condos that doesn't necessarily describe a specific building type. It can be used on sort of one big building with a bunch of individual units, might be, a duplex, a quadplex. There's a variety of building types that might fit under that umbrella. A condo is really more of a legal regime than a structured type.
And I'll just say, I'm in the real estate world, and for me, the distinction is a condo generally is a multifamily constructed, multifamily where it can be on multiple levels, and a townhome is side by side, kind of with shared walls in between, but usually are one, maybe 2 stories, but in the same unit, and not more multifamily on multiple levels. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's generally the distinction that I make between a townhome and a condo.
Yeah, Brian Davis, Office of Planning. You're right. I mean, typically, a townhome tends to deal more with the construction type. And then condominium, like Travis mentioned, has more to do with like the lending and the maintenance side of the building. And you're correct, like a townhome, like you can stack condominiums, you can't stack townhomes, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Okay, so what do we have in front? We have the amended ordinance in front of us. I don't have anybody else in the queue. Councilman Benson?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. You know, wetlands, you know, maybe I don't know what it is. In 2025, did this property flood? Because down in Juniper Beach, my daughter has a condo down there, and it got up to the 2nd floor. And to me, FEMA has a hard, you know, are starting to eliminate who they want to insure. And if we're building things that flood, I mean, wetland, I don't know what wetland means other than flooding at times. And so is this, are we, I mean, I don't understand how that happens. We're not supposed to be building in wetlands. I mean, Floyd Fork Park, I have, Floyd Fork Creek, I have a lot of property along the creek that it's wetlands and they can't build. And so I don't know if this is wetlands, how are we building?
So there's a difference between the floodplain and a wetland. So a wetland would be like a swamp, like I'm just going to use a general descriptor, as like a swamp all the time, whereas the floodplain would be essentially dry when it's not flooded. That's kind of a real general
Yeah, with the
description.
wetland, you're
not
talking about
floodplain, but it's
a
wetland.
soil type, and so it's a type of soil that tends to be kind of hydric in nature, and will hold on to water. It doesn't, and with the floodplain, you're associated with like a body of water. And so in this situation, the floodplain is actually on the opposite side of River Road than this property. And so, like Julia said, the soil report, it was determined that are there hydric soils there? Possibly, but they're not large enough so that the Army Corps of Engineers would necessarily have a review or be concerned with any mitigation. So that's where like the big difference between a non-jurisdictional and a jurisdictional wetland come into play is how they're potentially mitigated.
I'm sorry, I thought this was between the River Road and the river, but it's not. It's on the opposite side of River Road. Is that right?
Well, technically, it is between River Road and the river, but, you know, the kind of the dominant waterway in here is that Harrods Creek. I can't remember which creek it is, yeah, which is on the opposite side of River Road. So this particular property is far enough from the Ohio that it doesn't have any impacts from flooding that occurs on the Ohio River.
Oh, I know that we're not stopping the water. I'm just talking about how's FEMA feel about, I mean, are they, can they get FEMA, insurance?
They should be able to, because they're not located within a FEMA designated floodplain. So, yeah, they should be able to get flood insurance should they want it.
All right, thanks.
I can't, I mean, it is getting harder and harder to secure financing and to get insurance for land that's within a flood plain, which I think is actually a good thing, because we've been bailing people out that have made poor decisions for a long time. Okay. Don't have anybody else in the queue. We've got an amended ordinance in front of us. Justin, can you open up the roll call vote? Good Lord. Excuse me.
Committee Member Parrish Wright. Committee Member Parrish Wright.
Yes. Yes.
Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Chair, you have 8 yes votes.
Okay, with 8 yes votes, this amended ordinance will go to old business on the next council agenda. All right, item number 4, O-031-26, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 5045 Preston Highway containing approximately .16 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25, zone 0126. Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. Julia?
This is case number 25, zone 0126. This is located at 5045 Preston Highway in Council District 21. The proposed use, or the existing use is commercial with the proposed use of commercial. The existing zoning is C1 in the suburban marketplace corridor with the proposed zoning of C2 in the suburban marketplace corridor. The change in zoning is from C1 to C2, with also a detailed district development plan with binding elements. The property is about .16 acres. There's no changes proposed to the structure or site design. The proposed use is for a nightclub, and the rezoning is just a portion of that subject property. This is the applicant's development plan showing the other uses around it. The existing unit from the interior of the site, you can see it highlighted in red here and looking at it through the parking lot. The existing shopping center. The southeast along Preston Highway adjacent properties. Northeast along Gilmore Lane properties. Southwest across Gilmore Lane properties. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on October 6, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from C1 to C2, passing by a vote of 7-1. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Julia. Just because we've been on a run here of unanimous decisions that were brought over by an aggrieved party, this was brought over because it had one no vote at the Planning Commission. But it does not look like anyone spoke in opposition to this at the meeting.
That's fine.
It is in Council District 21. So Councilwoman Rui, would you like to add your thoughts on this one?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would never be excited about a nightclub. Certainly not one that doesn't start operating at 9 and doesn't close till I think they're proposing 4. But I want to read into the record, this is from Mayor David Pearl of the city of Linview, which is adjacent to. And so having met with, I and the city council members feel an operational business is needed in the area to make it more conducive to the city and surrounding communities. Having met with the owners of the club and the shopping center to voice concerns that we had, and they agreed to the following. On-site security during all business hours, LMPD will increase monitoring of the area as well. Monthly meetings with Linview leadership team to address any problems or concerns. Code inspections periodically at random to address any issues. We will maintain phone numbers for immediate contact should there be an issue. Shopping center management team will address any problems if necessary, and then they go on some other things, hours of operation, 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. But basically, because the city of Linview is endorsing this, and they have worked closely with the developer, I am voting yes for this, and I ask for your support.
Councilman Batchon.
I withdraw my question.
Well done. Don't have anybody else in the queue. Any other questions or concerns about this one? Justin, roll call vote, please.
Committee Member Parrish Wright.
Yes.
Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Chair, you have 8 yes votes.
This we sent to old business on the next council agenda. Let's see, item number 5, O-032-26, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 5417 Valley Station Road containing approximately .38 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25, zone 0024. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Properly moved and seconded. Julia.
This is case number 25, zone 0024. This is located at 5417 Valley Station Road in Council District 25. The existing use is commercial with a proposed use of commercial. The existing zoning is C1 in the Neighborhood Farm District, and the proposed zoning is C2 in the Neighborhood Farm District. The change in zoning is from C1 to C2 commercial. There was also a revised detailed district development plan with binding elements. The site is approximately .38 acres. There's no changes to the structure or site design. The proposals for a repair shop with 4 bays. This site was previously rezoned from R4 to C1 back in 2011. This is the applicant's development plan showing the existing building and parking. This is the subject property showing the existing structure. The adjacent property southeast along Valley Station Road. Adjacent property northwest along Valley Station Road. Southwest across Valley Station Road. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on February 19, 2025. The Land Development and Transportation Committee held their meeting on December 11, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026. There was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from C1 to C2, passing by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Julia. Again, I want to say that just based on the way the system is set up, this is another one that passed the Planning Commission unanimously, and no one spoke in opposition at the Planning Commission. And an aggrieved person is requested council to consider the matter, which is fine. That's the way that it's set up currently. I do want to encourage constituents, if you have an issue with a development project, to express those concerns at the Planning Commission meeting and reach out to your council office before the Planning Commission meeting. That's the most effective and efficient way to do this. With all of that said, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Batchon because this is in his district, and it's my understanding that you're working on some binding elements.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much. As of right now, we are working with the county attorney's office to see what the binding element additions we can get to this. And in that case, I would like to make a motion that we hold this until we can get the county attorney's office to come back with those confirmations on binding elements.
So is that a motion to table?
Motion to table, please.
We have a motion to table and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. This has been tabled and will be held until the next council meeting. Next item on the next item on the agenda is O-034-26. Where am I? Right here is where I am. An ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 7402 Beulah Church Road and 7903 East Manslick Road containing approximately 2.17 acres and being held in Louisville Metro, case number 25, zone 0098. Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. Julia?
Thank you. This is case number 25, zone 0098. It's located at 7402 Beulah Church Road, as well as 7903 East Manslick Road in Council District 23. The existing use is residential with a proposed use of residential. The existing zoning is R4 in the Neighborhood Farm District. The proposed zoning is R5A in the Neighborhood Farm District. The change in zoning is from R4 to R5A. There was also a detailed district development plan with binding elements for the site. The site is approximately 2 acres. The existing buildings on the site are to be removed. The proposals for 25 residential units with associated parking and open space. This is the applicant's development plan. the elevations. This is the subject property at 7402 Beulah Church Road, the property at 7903 East Manslick Road, adjacent properties along East Manslick Road, the intersection of East Manslick and Beulah Church Road, adjacent properties along Beulah Church Road. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on July 15, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on January 15, 2026, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 to R5A, passing by a vote of 9-0. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Julia. As a lot of the items we've had today need a little bit more context and explanation. I'm going to turn this over to Councilman Hudson in just a minute because it's in Council District 23. It's in his district. So again, unlike some of the other ones, 5 people did show up and spoke against this proposal at the Planning Commission. Councilman Hudson's LA John Torski went to the Planning Commission meeting and in the end requested that standard binding element be added, which I believe it was at the Planning Commission meeting. So again, what we're talking about here now is that's too difficult for the council offices. And I mean, it's not impossible, but we'd prefer to make the process more effective. So Mr. Torski doesn't have to go to the Planning Commission meeting and add the standard binding element. So with all of that said, it was approved 9-0 with the standard binding element added, and then an aggrieved person requested to bring it back over to council for us to consider. With all of that said, in terms of context, I'll turn it over to Councilman Hudson for additional context.
Thank you, Chair. The first question I would ask is to County Attorney. Are we under any kind of time constraint on this case?
So the 90 days does still apply to zoning matters. We have till about mid-April. I think we only have a late April meeting, so we just have the 2 March meetings but there are 2 more meetings before this absolutely has to move.
In that case, I'm going to reserve my opinion on this case to preserve my opportunity to vote on it later. I'd like to recommend that we send it back to the Planning Commission for this reason. There were several of the commissioners that wanted to get input from MSD and from DRC, neither of which were at the hearings. And Julie, if you could go back to the elevation slide there. That bottom view is the view that faces the major thoroughfare. And DRC needs to take a look at that. And there is a binding element that DRC will work to improve that look. But that's very subjective and vague in my opinion. I'd like for them to come back with a recommended look for that elevation. And since we have the time to do so, I don't see the harm in it. So I'll move to send it back to the Planning Commission. If that needs to be in a form of motion.
So that is a motion made by Councilman Hudson, seconded by Councilman Batchon. So Julia, yes?
I just want to clarify, this would go back to the Planning Commission, not the Development Review Committee.
I would like to send it back to the Development
Or
Review
do you want it
Committee,
to go to the
but-
Land Development and Transportation Committee? That's usually the one that's held before Planning Commission,
Well,
that
since
resolves
it-
technical issues.
All the above are acceptable to me. The preferred is to grant the wishes of the Planning Commission to hear from MSD and LD&T and DRC before they have to vote on it again, send it back over here.
Well, DRC is made up of planning commissioners, and DRC is just the body that would review a revised plan or something like that should a plan get approved. So, I mean, I think if we're wanting more input from a body at this time, it would probably just go back to planning commission, and then.
Yeah, which is what I was asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have an amended ordinance in front of us, so we can speak to the amendment, correct? at this point. Is that right, Travis? We can have a conversation about the amendment.
Certainly. But my primary concern would be timing. So when you asked how much time we had, I thought you were referring to sort of, can we table this for a cycle or two, which is what I was pointing out. If the Planning Commission were not to reissue a new decision prior to that April 15th date, then this decision would become final and you all would lose all opportunity to look at it. So there is always a significant risk in sending a case back down to Planning Commission. Considering this case was from January 15th and we're already 30 days or so in. So I'm not saying it's impossible that it wouldn't get in front of the Planning Commission and back, but there's a very real chance that you lose an opportunity to act on this, whereas we potentially could work out some binding elements regarding plantings or what have you regarding the rear side of that building facing Beulah Church. If that's not sufficient and you're really concerned about the MSD front, I mean, they did sign off and stamp on the plan, so they've seen it. But I want to point out those risks before we go down this road, because, again, it's a pretty, there's not necessarily a sort of clear error to point to here, right? An incorrect property address or something that we've used before as justification. So it would be a bit unusual, but I'm not going to say it can't be done. It's a gamble.
And I wanted to weigh in too, and say I generally, especially as it relates to requesting additional time and time to go through things, I generally think I almost never see any reason not to go along with the councilperson my concern here is that if the Planning Commission had an issue and didn't hear what they all vote 9-0. So I don't understand why, if they still had questions, they didn't, I don't know. It seems weird to me that they would all vote unanimously to go ahead and pass it out if there were still significant lingering questions.
I've seen several votes come out of Planning Commission that make me think the same thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I don't know what, in this case, did you guys identify the aggrieved party, and did the aggrieved party speak in opposition?
Yes, the aggrieved party did speak in opposition at the hearing.
And do you have, just for the record, do you have what their concern was in front of you?
Probably in the minutes.
I mean, is this their?
I have it.
Is this their concern?
I have that information.
The MSD concerns were a big concern for him. The aesthetics were somewhat of a concern, but not as much. The flooding was his biggest concern. And
okay, so Travis, okay, well, I'm a little concerned about sending it back and then not having the time, but I'm going to defer to Councilman Hudson's on this.
well, County Attorney's point is well taken in that I probably should have couched my initial question better.
I mean, how much work could we get done between now and Thursday? I mean, I know that's a quick turnaround.
I mean, there are binding elements in here that address both of these, but they're just subjective and vague. And at this point, I'm going up against a 9-0 vote from the Planning Commission. So as much as it pains me, I will withdraw my motion to send it back.
So from a legal standpoint, if he's withdrawing his motion, his amendment, do we have to do any formal voting to withdraw that, or is it just him saying he withdraws it enough for the record that we're pulling back on that amendment?
Was it ever seconded, or was it just motioned?
It was voted on. No, we were just still discussing it, I'm sorry. It was motioned and seconded.
I honestly would have to check council rules, but I can do that quickly if you'd like.
This is Sonia Howard, the clerk. He can withdraw his motion.
Okay, so he can withdraw his motion, and, okay. All right, so we've got a withdrawn amendment. We have the ordinance that's in the system in front of us at this point. Any other questions or concerns? Councilman Bitson?
Did mine not come up on your screen?
Your, pardon? Oh, on
Speak.
speakers?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't have it on the right
Oh,
number.
that's okay.
You are on in the queue. Thank you.
Well, no. One of the things I think, and sometimes people look into mechanics, how the thing functions and all the different things. I don't think many people sometimes look at what something looks like. And as I look around our city at different times, I think, who thought that would look good? And we've built things, I think, and when Councilman Hudson's talking about appearance, and then I started looking, and I didn't, I thought, that is plain. That is pretty pitiful. If the developer knew there's a chance that he wouldn't get us passing it, and we voted down, he'd have to wait 2 years before he can come back to apply again. So to me, one of the things he should know, because when I start looking at that, there's a lot of people who would say, no, we didn't do a very good job. This doesn't look very well. And so that poor guy, he's going to be punished for 2 years because everybody didn't look through and think about, could we make this a little bit better? Could we make this thing look pleasant? But that's just a thought. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anybody else in the queue. Without any further questions or comments, can we open this up for a roll call vote, Justin?
Committee Member Paris Wright.
Yes.
Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Chair Owen, you have 6 yes, 2 no votes.
Thank you, Justin. This will be forwarded to old business on the next council agenda. I think that's all we have on our agenda. Okay, without any further business in front of us, anybody else have anything they want to address? Councilman Batchon, I know you have lots of things on your mind. I'm just messing with you. I know he has a 2 o'clock meeting he's trying to get to. All right, thanks. Without any further business in front of us, we are adjourned. One, cut.
We are at First Neighborhood Place, where Neighborhood Place first started. Some people were in the back building, and then some people were up here, which was a little confusing for clients coming in because they didn't know necessarily which building to come to. And now, fortunately, we're all under one roof. This renovation was just a little under $1 million. It included knocking down some walls, adding in a new conference room, adding in a larger restroom. When they talked about restroom facilities in this building, we had one for the whole Neighborhood Place site. We have a handicap accessible front desk area, provided a lot more security for our staff, for our clients to be here. This is a special place for this